I'm going to start, first of all, with you, Mr. Shriver. You talked about, and I don't mean this to sound critical, but you were questioning the use of percent of GDP as the commitment to what a country thinks it should do to defend itself. I've always had the same thought myself. My problem is I can't think of another thing that you can use to measure it. Do you have any other measuring devices that you have in mind that you think might be appropriate in that regard? We see this across government. A lot of times they'll take a broad brush and try to measure something with something that is exactly related. But your thoughts on that, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I meant to say is it's important, but many times insufficient. And in other instances, there are factors that should be weighted more heavily, like in the case of the Philippines, 9 new ECTA sites, including those with geographic proximity to the Taiwan Strait, is extremely valuable, even though they're only spending 1.5% of GDP from a relatively small economy. So I'm afraid it comes down to more of a qualitative assessment of weighing these different baskets. What are they doing on ABO? What are they doing on their own defense? And you get really sort of qualitative when you get to history. I think it counts that Australia has fought alongside us in every war since World War I. I think that gives us confidence they'll be alongside us in the future. And to me, that is a part of having confidence in them sharing a burden in the worst of times. But that gets very hard to chart on a graph and measure.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, particularly with Australia. I mean, I never even think about what percent they spend on. It doesn't matter to me. These people are friends and have been with us through thick and thin, and that counts for way more than anything that you could talk about statistically. I'd like. I'm going to give all three of you a short run at this. Something I've been very impressed with in recent times has been the Philippines' desire to have us as an ally and vice versa. And we all know they're making real effort in that regard. What are the Chinese doing about this? Their reaction obviously is going to be negative. How does that actually materialize in reality? Why don't we start with you, Mr. Shriver, and we'll go across.
Well, they're certainly behaving aggressively toward the Philippines in the disputed territories. There's a lot of activity around Second Thomas Shoal that includes water cannons being fired from Coast Guard vessels, includes shouldering of Filipino vessels. But I think also what's going on is a lot of attempts at elite capture and economic coercion, as Dr. Cha mentioned. They're very focused on upcoming elections in the Philippines and what they might be able to do to tip the balance. So they're playing a little bit of a long game too, in addition to the points of coercion that are much more acute. So clearly they don't like it. But from our perspective, we can't have an ECTA site and have the Chinese go around and buy up everything around it in terms of the electrical grid, in terms of the communication systems, in terms of the local infrastructure. We have to be able to address it in a more comprehensive way.
Thank you. Dr. Master.
Thank you, Chairman. In terms of the things that the Chinese are doing, if you look at Chinese writings and speeches about the U.S. alliance system, generally speaking, I think it's very telling that they spend a lot of energy in their discourse and their behavior and their capabilities trying to undermine the U.S. alliance system. To me, the fact that they're leveraging some of these discussions right now in the United States, what the United States is doing vis-a-vis Ukraine, for example, and, for example, the dissolution of some of our key agencies like USAID, they're using those to say that, one, the United States is not a reliable ally, and two, they're also increasing their military presence around a lot of key allies and partners like Japan, the Philippines, and their aggression towards Taiwan. When I speak to the Chinese military directly and I ask them about their military activities in these areas, they tell me that they are specifically designed to demonstrate to allies and partners that the United States cannot help them. that in the case of their defense, even though the United States military is a significant force, given the fact that we are not forward deployed sufficiently, that those countries would be on their own. So there is this implicit military coercion that is occurring. And at the same time, they are offering a lot of positive inducements to some countries in the region. If we alienate certain partners in the Indo-Pacific, in particular in Southeast Asia, if we ask them to pick sides, I'm not sure we'll like what side Singapore or even the Philippines might pick in the end. And so for that reason, the Chinese are leveraging both their economic coercion as well as positive inducements. The development assistance that the Chinese are giving to Southeast Asian countries in particular is significant. And for access basing and overflight, the United States is trying to expand our relationships with countries in the second island chain, for example, Palau or the Federated States of Micronesia. These are not countries that are under direct military threat from Beijing. And so it's really some of the programs we mentioned, such as development assistance, economic assistance, military training that convince these countries to allow U.S. access. And on the same hand, the other side of the ledger, they have the Chinese coming in with elite capture and economic incentives. And so for that reason, it's very important, I think, that we focus on the military side, but also the economic and political side as well.
Appreciate that. Dr. Cha.
Just add quickly that to add to what's been said, I mean, it's not just elite capture, it's dominating sort of the information space and the media environment, media partnerships with lots of, basically resource-poor media in the Philippines. And so that needs to be combated in some way, and so things like RFA and VOA are actually quite important in that respect. And then I'll go back to the point on commercial pressure. I mean, as Randy said, there are 9 access sites. China knows how to put very directed commercial pressure, perhaps on certain localities to try to complicate our ability to gain access to those sites. So having some sort of collective strategy among Asia-Pacific partners, again, sort of like the EU has done with the ACI, is something that is important for ABO, I think, ABO strategy.
Thank you.